Hi, happy Wednesday. I'm Rachel with Exercise Your Soul. You might know that I used to be a teacher. And one of the things that I loved about teaching were all of the amazing children's books. Children's books have this ability to share really profound human experiences and teach incredibly valuable lessons in a way that is easy for us to digest. Plus, they have adorable pictures with them. The funny thing is that if we are not a child and we do not have a child to whom we would read a story, a lot of times we don't access the richness of these children's books. So, in my work now, it's funny because a lot of times I say that I still work with 5 year olds, but it's the 5 year old inside of the adult, right? It's like the inner child, the coming home within, the making peace with all of who we are. And sometimes these parts of us are not awesome. In fact, most of the time, they are parts that we really don't want to look at, that have been suppressed for a really long time, or that insist on driving the bus and they're kind of like bullies. Like, think about an inner critic part. And so these parts can be really difficult to work with. And a lot of times I talk about being blended with a part. And that would be where that part is kind of acting like it's all of who you are, when really it's just a part of who you are. So if we can become unblended from them and actually look at them and listen to what they have to say, a lot of times they lose the power, or it like dissolves, because they've been seen and they've been heard. So there is a children's book that I think of often, and while it isn't um, a perfect illustration of this, because I would like to think that we have more compassion as we go through our processes together, this book does illustrate what it's like to begin to face a part of us that feels really, really, really scary to face. And in the process, this story is about a little boy named Harry. In this process, Harry develops courage, empowerment, agency, and we see him rise up in his truth. And that is what this work is all about, is these parts of us get to quiet down so that the truth of who we are, our innate wisdom, our innate goodness, can rise up and we can be fully expressed in the world. So I would love to read to you Harry and the Terrible Whatzit. As you can tell, this book is quite aged. I love it though. Okay, this is by Dick Gackenbach. There you have it. I knew there was something terrible down in the cellar. I just knew because the cellar was dark and damp and it smelled. Don't go down there, I told my mother. Why? She asked. There is something terrible down there. I have to go down in the cellar, she said. We need a jar of pickles. She never believes me. I waited and waited and waited at the cellar door. She never came back up. Someone had to do something. So I took a broom and I went down the cellar stairs. It was very black and gloomy, and it smelled. I know there is something there, I cried out. What did you do with my mother? Then I saw it. A double-headed, three-clawed, six-toed, long-horned Whatzit. It was hiding behind the furnace. Where is my mother? I asked it. The last time I saw your mother, the Whatzit said, she was over by the pickle jars, runt. I was sure the Whatzit was lying. What did you do with her? I shouted. I gave it a swat with the broom. Wham! That made the Whatzit really mad, and it came after me. I swung the broom again. Wham! The Whatzit didn't like that at all. It climbed up on the washer, and I hit it right where it sits down. I noticed the Whatzit was getting smaller, and when I pulled its tail, it got even smaller. Now the Whatzit was down to my size. Okay, you better tell me what you did with my mother, I said, or else. Kid, you're crazy, the Whatzit answered. One of the heads made a face at me. Just for that, I twisted its nose, and the Whatzit shrank some more. Why are you getting so small? I asked. Because you aren't afraid of me anymore, the Whatzit said. That always happens just when I'm beginning to feel at home in a closet or a cellar. The Whatzit looked very sad. The Whatzit got smaller and smaller and smaller. Just when it was about the size of a peanut, I called out, "Try Sheldon Parker's cellar next door. He's afraid of everything." "Thanks," I heard it say. Then the Whatzit was gone. The Whatzit disappeared before it could tell me what it had done with my mother. I looked in the washer. She was not there. I looked behind some boxes. My mother was not there either. I looked inside the wood bin. No mother there. I was very worried. Then I found her glasses beside the pickle jars. But what had happened to the rest of her? I was searching for more clues when I discovered the back cellar door was open. I looked outside, and there in the sunlight was my mother picking flowers. Boy, was I glad to see her. "I found your glasses down in the cellar," I said. "Thank you, Harry," she said, "but I thought you were afraid of the cellar." "Not anymore," I answered. "The terrible Whatzit is gone. I chased it away with the broom." "Well," she said, "I never saw a Whatzit down there." She never believes me. I helped her carry the pickles into the kitchen where she gave me some milk and cookies. "You know what, Harry," my mother said, "I will never worry about a Whatzit as long as you are around." Maybe she did believe me. Later, I heard an awful yell coming from the house next door. I'll bet Sheldon looked in the cellar. And that is Harry and the Terrible Whatzit. And again, it's this sweet rendition of a little boy who is terrified of something and then begins to face the fear. And as he decreases his fear, as he has that courage and stands up to it, it becomes smaller and it is no longer a threat to him. So my invitation to you is to consider what part of you might have that energy of the two-headed terrible Whatzit, where you feel a level of fear or anxiety, even thinking about having to face it. But that if you didn't have that fear and anxiety anymore, there would be a level of freedom and joy in your life. I invite you to have courage as you turn within and to know that this journey is ever unfolding. There are more and more parts of who we are that want to come home within us. So instead of sending it to Sheldon Parker next door, we get to invite these parts to just come home in love within our own hearts. And this is actually what brings us to being an integrated whole. And that is when we can show up so fully and authentically as ourselves in the world. And I know you are worthy of that. Thanks for joining me here today.